I took a DNA test for fun, but the results revealed my biological father wasn't who I thought. It was my sister's husband, and the truth shattered my entire family. I never imagined a simple DNA test could unravel the very fabric of my life. It started as something trivial, a silly trend I'd seen floating around online. People were posting screenshots of their ancestry breakdowns, laughing about being 2% something obscure, or shocked to find distant cousins in far-off places. I thought it would be fun, a little harmless entertainment during a lull in my otherwise uneventful life. I was 31, working remotely as a graphic designer, mostly keeping to myself. My family wasn't particularly large or complicated, at least. I thought it wasn't. Just my parents, who were now retired and living quietly, my sister Hannah, who was 3 years older than me, and her husband, David. Hannah and David had been together since their college days. He was practically part of the family long before they got married. To me, David was like an older brother, steady, calm, someone who could always diffuse tension at family dinners when Hannah and I bickered. I never gave him a second thought beyond that. So when the results of my DNA test came back and his name appeared in a way that made no sense, my world cracked open. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. The test showed close family matches: parents, siblings, first cousins. But then there was David, not tagged as some random distant relative like I'd have expected, but closer, much closer. The app labeled him as a parent-child level match. I stared at the screen, confused, my stomach knotting in disbelief. That couldn't be right. It had to be some kind of glitch. I refreshed the page. I closed the app, opened it again. Still the same. David, my sister's husband, showed up as a 50% DNA match. My hands trembled as I opened the detailed breakdown. Shared centimorgans, consistent with a father and child. It was impossible. I told myself it had to be a mistake. Maybe the company messed up my results, mixed up samples. I sent an email to customer support, demanding clarification, though deep down, a dark thought gnawed at me. What if it wasn't a mistake? I didn't want to believe it. I shoved the idea away, burying it under denial. I went about my days pretending everything was normal. But every time I saw Hannah's Instagram posts pictures of her and David smiling at some brunch spot, celebrating their wedding anniversary, or cozy in their living room, I felt sick. If the results were accurate, then David wasn't just my brother-in-law. He was my biological father. The thought made my skin crawl. How could that even be possible? How could my parents have hidden something like this from me for 31 years? For days, I told no one. I tried to act normal at work, with friends, even during calls with my parents. But the secret festered. I barely slept, lying awake replaying my childhood in my head, looking for cracks in the story I'd been told about who I was. And I found them. Little things I'd never thought about before. My parents had me later in life. My mom was in her 40s, my dad close to 50. I was always told I was a miracle baby, a surprise blessing. Hannah was much older, already in college when I was still in grade school. I grew up more like an only child than a sibling. And David was always around. I remembered being a little girl and sitting on his shoulders at family barbecues, or how he'd sometimes drive me to school when my parents were busy. I'd thought of it as kindness. But what if it was something else? What if it was guilt? My stomach lurched every time my mind drifted that way. After a week of torment, I cracked. I needed to know the truth, even if it destroyed me. I decided to confront David first. I figured if it was all some massive mistake, he'd laugh it off, tell me not to be ridiculous. But if it wasn't, if the results were real, I wanted to see his face when I asked. I drove to their house on a Sunday afternoon, unannounced. Hannah greeted me at the door, surprised but happy. David was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of soup. For a moment, it felt painfully ordinary. Then I blurted it out. I took a DNA test, I said, my voice shaking. David froze, spoon hovering in midair. Hannah frowned. Okay, and? I looked straight at David. It says you're my father. The room went silent. Hannah laughed, sharp and disbelieving. That's insane. Those tests screw up all the time. But David didn't laugh. He put the spoon down slowly, his face drained of color. He looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before, something between fear and resignation. My heart pounded. "Tell me it's not true," I whispered. Hannah's laughter faltered. She glanced at David, waiting for him to deny it. But he didn't. His silence was louder than any words. Hannah's face crumpled. "David," she demanded, her voice cracking. "What the hell is she talking about?" He finally spoke, his voice low. "It's complicated." That was all he said, but it was enough. Hannah's eyes widened, filling with tears. I felt like I was going to vomit. The world tilted around me, reality collapsing in on itself. Hannah backed away from him as if he were a stranger. "Complicated? Are you out of your mind?" she screamed. My own voice broke. "So it's true? You're my father?" David's hands trembled as he rubbed his face. "I never wanted you to find out like this." The words shattered me. Hannah screamed again, incoherent, before storming out of the kitchen. I heard the sound of her sobs upstairs, the slam of a door. I stood frozen, numb, staring at the man who was both my sister's husband and my biological father. The betrayal was so profound it felt unreal, like I was trapped in some grotesque nightmare. Finally, I found my voice. "How?" He sat down, heavily at the kitchen table, burying his face in his hands. "It was a long time ago. I was young, stupid. Your mother and my mother?" I cut him off, horror flooding me. "You mean Mom?" He nodded, shame written all over him. "We made a mistake. Just once. Your dad was working out of state, and your mom and I couldn't listen." My ears rang, my stomach heaving. My mother, my sister's husband, me, a mistake. My entire life was a mistake. I stumbled backward, nearly knocking over a chair. "Don't," I choked. "Don't say another word." I fled the house, barely aware of Hannah's screams echoing behind me. I drove without direction, tears blurring my vision. Every memory I'd ever had felt tainted now. Birthdays, family trips, holidays, all poisoned by this ugly truth. For days, I locked myself in my apartment, ignoring calls from my parents, from Hannah, even from David. I couldn't face any of them. But the silence was unbearable. Finally, I answered when my mother called, though my voice was raw from crying. "Is it true?" I demanded. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, softly, "Yes." That single word crushed me. She tried to explain that she and David were both young, lonely, that it was a terrible mistake, that she and my father had decided to raise me as his, that it was better for everyone if I never knew. But none of it mattered. Their lies had stolen my identity. I wasn't who I thought I was. And worse, Hannah's husband, my sister's husband, was my father. Our entire family was broken beyond repair. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this.